This is a project that I've been working on for many years. It's an LED panel connected to a Raspberry Pi that has some custom code that receives notifications from a lot of my services. Like you can see right here, YouTube. And I built this because I wanted to display notifications on here, and I put it in this shadow box because I wanted it to look kind of pretty like art. And it's been working great over the years, but one of the things that I've wanted to do for a long time was swap out the microSD card for an SSD drive. Now, even though my microSDs have been pretty reliable, it seems like about every 6 months, one of my 4 Raspberry Pis microSD gets corrupted or dies. A lot of this could be my fault, because sometimes I just pull the plug and power them down unexpectedly. But a lot of times I think it's just the nature of microSD cards. They like to get corrupt, they have a limited lifespan, and they're very slow on read and writes. Now, I have used things like log to RAM to help mitigate some of this, but at the end of the day, it's still a microSD card and it's still going to give me problems. So one of the projects I haven't been able to get to was replacing this with an SSD drive. And today, I think that's all going to change. So to take a closer look at this, this is my Raspberry Pi 4. I put some heat sinks on it. And then I have this ribbon cable that is rainbow for the GPIO pins, and that connects to this Adafruit hat that is a clock and can supply power, but then connects to this 32 by 32 LED panel. And then you can see I have some GPIO pins connected to this button right here that can do a safe power off, which I rarely do. Should do that more often. And then you can see I extended this barrel plug here, a male to female, and then a barrel plug jack with this power supply here. You can tell that I measured once and cut once when I did this. I drilled the holes first, assuming it would line up properly, and it didn't. But oh well, it is what it is. Let me power this off. I actually don't have the safe shutdown button working right now, so I'm just going to pull the plug. This probably has a lot to do with why it gets corrupted. So I'm going to pull the plug there. And let's take this out so you can kind of see it. But here's the back. Nothing pretty to look at. I should probably tidy this up at some point, but it's the back and no one ever sees it but me. But this is just a shadow box that I bought, I think from a hobby store, maybe Michael's. And it was a picture frame. And I wanted to make this like an art piece that I could just hang on the wall. But I wanted it to be interactive too, so I would get notifications. So here's the tough part. When I open this up, I also have to disconnect the power supply from the Adafruit hat. There's that. And then I have to disconnect those pins as well. I probably could have done a better job at that, but it was kind of like a proof of concept that went to production really fast. Okay, so let's get this on here and let me plug it in so maybe it'll light up and you can see it again. I wrote some software. It's a Node.js application that will take a payload that you can send to it, and you can send an image along with some text, and when it receives it, it will convert it to something that this matrix panel can understand, and then you'll see an image. For example, if I post to it some JSON, if I give it a message key, it will print out this message. If I give it an image URL, it will retrieve an image from the internet and then display it, and then show now is this key that I have that basically cuts the line in the queue. If I didn't have it, it would try to display multiple images at the same time, and it would get all crazy and probably overpower the Pi. So if I post this to that endpoint, I got a 201 created. And if we look back there now, you can see a GIF that's being printed. That came from DeviantArt, some random GIF. And then you'll see the message afterwards. Someone donated 1 bits. So it supports remote images, but it also supports local images too. So I put some images in a known path, and then in this payload of this body, I can send a message again with the image name link, and that's an image that I uploaded there, and show now is true. And if we send it, should get a 201. And there you can see link spinning, and then you'll see the message afterwards. And I have all kinds of images. If I SSH into that machine, and then if I go into source images, here are all of the images that I uploaded. You can see I have all of these Mega Man ones, heart, link, GIF. But if I wanted to display this Mega Man one, I would just change the payload to say Mega Man 5000, and I would send that. I could change the message if I wanted, and then we should see a blue Mega Man there. And then I have all kinds of other images, as you saw in there. As you saw, there was one called Contra. So if I wanted to display the Contra image, what would I do with Contra? I would do up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start, Konami code. And if I send that, I should see the Contra image now, so one of the guys from Contra, and then it'll display the Konami code. Little gaming trivia, that Konami code actually worked on other Konami games. That's why it was called the Konami code. One of my favorite games that it also worked on was this game called Gradius, and it was a side-scrolling shooter, one of the best games out there. Anyways, so that's kind of how it works. But back to the matter at hand, this microSD card gets corrupted and I want to swap it out with an SSD. Now I have this old SSD, this old Samsung 64 gigabyte SSD, and it is a Samsung 830. If that says anything about how old it is, and the size should give it away too. But I've been saving this for a long time. It works great, and I think this is the perfect application for it. Not only because it's small, but it actually matches the same exact size of that microSD card, so it should be pretty easy to copy this image from there to here. And how's that gonna work? Well, I picked up this SSD to USB 3.0 SATA adapter, and this should just be able to plug in there, and we should be able to plug in the drive and then do a little tweaking, and it should work. I am concerned though about power. I'm not sure if this SSD is going to draw a lot of power. This power supply is only 5 volt, 4 amp, which is enough to power the LED plus the Pi. I'm not sure once we get the SSD on there if that will still work. But as you can see, it's just a simple adapter. I chose this adapter mainly because it has this little activity light on here somewhere. I think it's right here in the corner. So it has an activity light that will flash. Typically I don't care that much about blinky lights, but when it's in something in a display, I wanted it to flash and kind of look nice. And plus it's nice to know that something is working. Rather than kind of guessing if it's working, you have a visual cue to say, yes, I'm doing something, yes, I'm busy, yes, I'm still alive. So, but yeah, let's plug it in really quick just to see, hey, does it even power on and does it recognize this? Yeah, hey, there's our activity light. Kind of a good sign. I was kind of expecting to maybe see some flashing too on activity, but maybe not. But the next step is what I need to do is actually clone this micro SD card, this 64 gig, to this Samsung 64 gig SSD. So we'll put that in here. And then let's move over to my Linux machine over here. And then over here on my Linux machine, I have this hub. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this device into this hub so we can actually read and write to it. And I'm going to do the same thing for this USB drive so we can copy to it. Well, that was a good sign. It did flash. So again, copy this to this. So just so I know which drives are which, let me see what we have first. So LSBLK. So this is, okay, so got it. But let's plug in the microSD now and see what our drive is called, LSBLK. Cool, so it looks like SDB. And the way that I'm gonna back this image up to a file is running this command right here. So this is Jay's channel, Learn Linux TV, and I always have to come back here to remember this command. Once it's done, here's that file that it created. First, let's safely eject this thing because I don't need to break it any more than I already have. But the nice thing is now we have an image backup. So I'm going to unplug that. And then let's plug in my SSD. Should see that get mounted. I probably have data on here already, but it doesn't matter. We're going to wipe it out. So once that's plugged in, I use Etcher to do the rest. From here, choose the file that we just created. And then we're going to select a target. So once we select target, you'll notice that it's hidden. I think that's because this has an old Linux install on it. And you can see that, hey, it is here and it's saying it's too small. Interesting. So I might have to shrink this image. Looks like there might be a small discrepancy on the amount of space that's actually being used. So I think if I shrink this and then I can expand it later. So let's do that really quick. So while that's going, we can take the drive, move it back to here, and figure out how we're going to lay this out here. So what I might end up doing is, can I bend it this way, notch this out, and then maybe bend it this way and notch this out? I just don't want to cut a huge hole in here so you see it. I've been pretty good at cutting small holes except for right here for the ribbon cable, but that's kind of hidden behind here. no matter what, we need to notch this out so that it comes through this way. So that one's easy. I think the only other thing to decide is, well, do I do this crazy weird right angle like this, or do I just do the bottom notch like this? I mean, that's easier, and honestly, I think that's a little bit cleaner. So it would end up going like this. I think I like that. The only other thing is, well, now this is going to flop around. So even if I do get this down and zip tie it, you know, I still have the chance that it could flop around. What I think I'll do is screw in some screws. Hopefully I have some long enough, and then maybe I can just use zip ties to zip tie it down, so then it's all flush. So let's actually start fixing this. I hope I have some drive screws. I do. And if you're hearing birds in the background, it's because I have the windows open, and I actually like birds. If you could name 2 birds that you hear during this video, put it in the comments. I know which ones they are. There's 2 types I hear right now. But anyway, okay, I think this is the right approach. So let me actually take this out, screw these in. So I'll need, one more. And what I'll do is I'll punch a hole through so the zip tie can come through behind and go down like this, and then hold this in place. Okay, here's one of my many bags of screws that I have. Hopefully I have some screws that match. I'm betting I won't find one because these seem like newer screws. Is this the same thing? Kind of looks like it. Cool, so that's working. I think that's one of the few times I've ever got the exact screw I need out of there. Thank you, bag of screws. So I think it might be time to cut. So I think I just need to notch this out. Let me just cut a little notch right here, and then see how this is going to fit. I might need to actually remove some of this because it's not that thin, so it's not just gonna easily slide in. But let me just cut a little notch. Probably need some better clippers. This came with the house. Someone left them here, so I've been using them ever since. Particle board made more mess than I thought it would. So let's see, are we wide enough now? Maybe a little bit more. Let's see now. Okay, getting there. So the idea is I'm gonna actually fold it back, I guess pretty tight, and then I will put zip ties here, and that will hold that in place. So I can bend that later, but then we're gonna have to come across somewhere over here, and I want to put it in the USB 3. So let's just say about here we need to notch as well. So let's turn this way, kind of get it straight. Notch there, notch there. Yeah, that one actually worked out a lot better than the other side. Okay, cool. Let me clean this up really quick. Another thing that I'd like to do is to make sure that this boots from USB first. I think the default is boot from microSD and then boot from USB, so it should be fine. But once I move to USB, I never wanted to check the microSD first, so I'm gonna flip-flop that. So it tries to boot from USB first and then microSD second. So let's do that really quick. So that's still going, I'll let that go, but what I'm going to do is put in a different microSD card, so a 32 gig, into here. And what I want to do is use the Pi Imager, and I will choose the device. It's gonna be a Pi 4, and then I'm going to choose the OS. In here should be a utility for the ROM, right here, bootloader EEPROM configuration, that's what I wanna do. Use the bootloader for the Pi 4, and what I want to do is a USB boot. So this is what I want to do. So USB boot if available, otherwise boot from SD. So I'm just going to flip this around, and let's choose storage and make sure, yep, this is the small 32 gig one. So let's flash that really quick. Awesome, okay, it's ready to go. So now I've flip-flopped it, so it's going to boot from USB first, microSD second. Okay, so the challenge then is going to be getting these zip ties in. So for the zip ties, this really isn't science for me either. It's going to be poke a hole in each spot, so then I can loop it through and zip tie it in the back. But I don't want to do that until I can make sure that this drive will work. Okay, awesome. This is done. If you see that, it shrunk it from 60 gigs down to 8.3. So pretty cool. Awesome. So now let's try to image this SSD with it. Okay, cool. It's flashing now and flashing really quick, a lot faster than a microSD. So what about 120-ish, 110-ish megabytes per second? Now it's validating. Awesome. That was really awesome. Okay, let's actually ping this machine so it has a static IP. So if it comes up, I'll know that it's working because this will reply. Let's power this up. So we should see this flash. And yeah, that's not a good sign so far. Yeah, I'm hesitant to unplug it or start it over only because who knows what's going on? Nothing. Okay, let's actually connect this to a display and see what's going on. Interesting. So I don't know if this is the bootloader doing this, but well, yeah, it says it's connected. I wonder if this drive is not getting enough power. Okay, now we're going to power it through USB-C. Hey, that's flashing. That is actually a good sign. There's a boot screen, and look at that. It's starting to boot, seeing some flashing. So I think it's a power issue. So I think I need to get a better adapter to then power these both, but who knows? Maybe this USB-C power will be enough to power this. We'll know once this starts. Sure, it's taking some time. Yeah, something doesn't seem right if it's going this slow. Okay, when looking at the reviews for this device, one of them most recently says that seems good, LED is a nice touch, low profile, blends with the drive. Now for the bad, if you're using this with the Raspberry Pi, it wouldn't boot initially, gets into an initialization loop and throwing errors. It's kind of what I'm seeing. Okay, these were listed as non-working for Raspberry Pi 4, but additional research revealed that they do function if you disable UAS and command line.txt. Okay, so it looks like I might have to modify something. So we need to set this first, as Alex mentioned on Amazon reviews. Oh man, disconnect. Okay, it's booting up. Hey, yeah. Did you see that? It's going faster, but I can tell we're in Ubuntu now because these are the Ubuntu checks. Man, that was, let me see who this is. I need to definitely give it a thumbs up. Dude, thanks Alex on Amazon who gave me the command to disable UAS so it doesn't look like I need to buy another adapter. And as you can see, the ping is responding now. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so what do we want to test now? We want to make sure that we still see an image displayed on this panel when we get one, because now we're going the opposite. We're powering this hat through the Pi, whereas before we were injecting power into the hat and it was powering the Pi and the panel. So let's pass in link now. And so yeah, so it doesn't look like it's getting enough power. I should be able to plug in the barrel jack and the power here at the same time. This will then just power this and the Pi will be powered by USB-C, not ideal. Okay, let's do Link again because we know what he looks like. Hey, look at that, okay. Okay, so didn't expect that. That's what's going on. This 5 volt, 4 amp is not enough to power both the Pi, the hard drive, and this panel. So let's save that for another day. I'm gonna buy a 10 amp power supply and see if that fixes it. But in the meantime, we can put this back together and get it working and finish it up. And then I'll just test with a different power supply later on. Now we can make things a little more permanent. I wish I had a scribe, I don't. So what I'm gonna do, again, is just kind of eyeball where the holes need to go. I'm only measuring once, I should be measuring twice, right? What I wanna do is a hole about here. Hole about here, hole about here, then a hole about here. And honestly, I might have to get my drill for this. I think that's gonna be the best way, is get a drill. Hope it doesn't tear out this felt. Not the greatest idea to have my finger on here, but exactly what I said. Yeah, that was pretty dumb. Yeah, let me get a Band-Aid for that. Okay, let's try that again without putting my finger behind there. Yeah, I punctured right into it. Oh well, that was dumb. Okay, so my plan is to come from the back and loop all the way through. I didn't really want to put 2 holes. I only wanted to put 1. So we are going to depend on those screws. Let's come in through here. And let's just get all of these set first. So that's 1. Okay, let's see how bad I did. Okay. You know, typically I would do 2 holes, but because this is so small, I don't think I can get it within the loops. Get this within the loop. Okay, cool. So I think I should tighten these down now. So my plan was to kind of pull this loop, make it tighter, as you can see, and then honestly, I don't even need to fasten the zip tie, but I should, so that I can get it really flush with this. That's even going to be a challenge in itself. I guess I could do that. I kind of like that, to where, you know what, if I had to do something or I had to service this for some reason, I still have a little bit of slack there. We'll see how that works out. Okay, and let's do the same thing. Bring this in from the back. Cool. So let's clip that too. Cool. And so the last one, I think I'm only going to use one, we'll see, is to then get this over here. And then let's zip tie this down. Push that all the way down. Awesome. And we will need to bend this back here, but this is where the duct tape is going to come in. So let me clip this. I am going to get some more duct tape. I hate to do it, but again, like, kind of how this goes. You know, kind of just get this dust and all of that cloudiness out of there. Little squirt on there. Clean the outside. And then just a little bit on the inside too. Move these out of the way. I think that'll look brand new. No, I didn't connect that power because remember, we have to connect both. So maybe I should just put this in, connect both, and then let's see it display. And then I'll have a power adapter coming here soon. Plug that in there just for the time being. Let me just temporarily put this here. We'll close this out, and close this just to make sure that it is going to work. Okay, that is on. And let me power then this, just so we can make sure that it lights up properly. I just went through all that cleaning and I got that on there, but oh well. And let's send a quick message to it. Hey, there we go. So we can see the party parrot. Awesome. Awesome. So it looks like this is all working now. I am waiting on a power adapter. I will let you know if that power adapter that plugs into here, that's 5 volt, 10 amp will power them both without getting this USB-C into here. Otherwise, I'll have to come up with some other creative solution to be able to power them both. That was not my intent, and that's why I actually wired up the power from this hat to the Pi, is because I wanted one power supply going in, but I might not have a way around that. Thanks so much for watching this. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Tim. Thanks for watching.